Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm sure we are all joining from different parts of the world. Thank you for joining to today's Youth Connect live event, which is on soft skills for entrepreneurs. I'll invite you to let us know who you are and where you are joining us from so that we get to know one another. My name is Irene Dankwa, and I will be chairing today's Youth Connect live event. As we know, there are global challenges that young people are facing in this 21st century, and the Youth Connect series is aiming to address some of these challenges. But for today, we are focusing on soft skills for entrepreneurs because we are living in a time where there's a huge competition in the job market and there is an unemployment situation going on globally. But we know that entrepreneurship is crucial for young people globally for several reasons. One, because they help create employment for the young person, they help create employment for other young people. They contribute to the GDP of countries, so economic growth. They are through entrepreneurship. So we have young people who are bringing social change in their communities, who are bringing cultural impact. And through entrepreneurship, we've seen a lot of innovation and creativity. But for us to unlock entrepreneurship, for the young people to unlock entrepreneurship, they need support. That's why at the British Council, we support young people on their entrepreneurial journey through a non-formal education program. Under a non-formal education program, we have programs like the Investment Climate Reform Facility that works with policymakers and private sector stakeholders to see how they can improve the policies, remove restrictions, make the business environment better so that the young person who's pursuing entrepreneurship journey will do it in a more conducive manner. Under our non-formal education, so we have our Youth Connect program. Our Youth Connect program is committed to empowering young people to take charge of their futures and drive meaningful change. So here we design and address critical issues that directly impact young people's lives, such as climate change, conflict, employment, disconnection, alienation. Key part of the work that we do is also focus on gender equality and inclusion. The Youth Connect Live series is one of the aspects of our Youth Connect program where we engage young people around the world to develop the skills that they need for themselves, their community, and the wider world. In this section, our speakers will be looking specifically for soft skills for entrepreneurs by sharing their experience and thoughts. We believe that it is important for us to focus on soft skills because by engaging, by talking about soft skills, we enable young people to develop the essential skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and emotional intelligence, which is critical for their entrepreneurship journey. So for this particular live event, our speakers will be focusing on emotional intelligence, effective communication, teamwork, critical thinking, and problem solving. We'll be hearing from people in positions of leadership who will share their personal perspectives. Today, we'll be bringing voices from Ghana, which is just myself, Nigeria, UK, Cyprus, Cameroon, Zimbabwe, Pakistan, Libya. As you can see, the conversation is going to bring global perspective. So we have sincere appreciation to you for accepting to take part in this, and we look forward to hearing your views and experiences on this important subject. Now, before I bring the speakers, just a few things about today's event. The session is being recorded. The video will be available on the British Council website afterwards. We would like to hear about you and your thoughts on today's session. So kindly use the hashtag Youth Connect Live on any social media platform. Again, there are closed caption subtitles available so you can read as the speakers are speaking. Kindly note that these closed captions can be turned on in the more section of the toolbar. They are computer generated, so we apologize for any mistakes. You are also invited to use the chat box to make comments throughout the event. ask questions to the panel, and then please direct your question to a specific panel so that we can ask them later. The chat box will be moderated, and we are kindly remind you of the code of contact you have signed up to when you registered. If you have any safeguarding concerns during this webinar, please email us directly. We have a live email inbox ongoing at youthconnect@British Council. Just if you are facing any safeguarding concern as a result of this webinar, email us at youthconnect@britishcouncil.org. Once again, a reminder of the code of content. We want this place to be a safe place for us to discuss, to debate, to respect each other's opinion, and to learn from each other. So we encourage you to observe this code of conduct. Also, please do not share your personal details in the chat, as you will be likely to be removed. So do share your information, but do not share any personal contacts. Thank you. Now, how is today's conversation going to be like? So in the beginning, we are going to hear from three panelists who will talk about their work, the work they do on soft skills for entrepreneurs. Then we will hear back from our first Youth Connect live session, which was on inclusive leadership, and hear about soft skills discussed in feminist leadership. In my work on the ICR facility, what we have also noticed is that while all gendered requires soft skills, sometimes it's more the gap between the male gender and the female gender is wide. So we'll be hearing more about feminist leadership from four young people from around the world who will share their thoughts on leadership for gender equality program, which was designed by the Closed Social Leadership with the British Council. We also have a question and answer session. So do put in your question when they come. Today, we are really honored to have speakers who have different perspectives. And we'll hear from Aziz Mino, who is the director at 2 to 3 Degrees, Yahya Janga, who is the program manager at the Enterprise Challenge at British Council, David Bryan, who is the head of Sustainable Business Social Enterprise Academy, Stalo Lester, who is a researcher, a consultant, a trainer, and who is very passionate about gender equality, who will actually take forward the discussion with these young women, sharing their perspective on feminist leadership. So once again, thank you and welcome to today's discussion. We really are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Now, to move on to the first part of our discussion, I will bring Aziz Mino, the director of 2 to 3 Degrees, to share her experience and tell us a bit more about what soft skills are and why they are very critical for entrepreneurs. Aziz, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And hello, everyone. Hello from everyone around the world. Thank you so much for saying hello and saying where you're from. It's really, really nice to have some context as to where we are speaking and dialing in from. But as mentioned, my name is Aziz Manar. I am co-founder of a company called 2 to 3 Degrees. We are a personal development company for young people. So I'll get into what that is in a little bit, but I would just like for you to write in the chat, are you an entrepreneur already, or are you thinking about it? It would be really good for the team to figure out who is on the call, some entrepreneurs, or are you actually thinking about getting into entrepreneurship? So getting into my slides then, what are soft skills and why are they important for entrepreneurs? So it's really important to break down, what do we mean? What do we mean when we talk about soft skills? So at school, we all know that we learn some basic skills like numeracy and literature or thinking about science. And these are what we call basic skills. And school is designed to help us learn all of those really important things as foundational knowledge. Then we might go to university or further education or even get into work and you might learn a technical skill. So here we might specialize in medicine or engineering or something of other sorts. But oftentimes we see that soft skills are often overlooked. They're not actually that important when it comes to writing exams or sitting essays. And sometimes because we're going into technical jobs, they want to focus on us getting that technical qualification. But soft skills are super critical for everyone's development, and particularly that of entrepreneurs. These are skills that are highly transferable. These are essential for any job, but critically, they are important for us as individuals, whether you're working or whether you're an entrepreneur. Soft skills are those things that are the essence of helping you to define who you are. So we're talking about confidence, we're talking about public speaking, or we might even be thinking about how do we network? Okay, so these are the reasons as to why it is super critical that first we understand what soft skills are and therefore recognize where they play an important part in our lives. So thank you for those who are putting things in a group chat. I can see people saying entrepreneur, halfway entrepreneur. I love it. Keep it coming. So, what are some of these skills? As I mentioned already, we might have here are a list of different ones that we can consider, and they could be broader than this, but there's a particular organization in the UK that have whittled it down just to these 8. Now, we don't need to go into a lot of detail here, but what you may be able to see is some of these things might come out in school, some of them might come out in further education or even training, but it's really important that we hone in on it and know where we are placed. And I would like to give a personal explanation and example to kind of back this up a little bit more. So when I went to university, I actually got to university not because I did really well in my grades. Unfortunately, my grades were so bad that I didn't go to the university of my choice. Now, this left me feeling quite upset and kind of feeling a bit like a failure. I guess, let me put it honestly, I actually felt like an absolute failure. Now, some of you on the call might be thinking, you're not a failure because you've gone to university. And that is probably true, but different contexts mean that that was the reason why I felt like that. Particularly in the UK, if you don't go to a top university, sometimes that might talk about your life chances being changed. But whilst I was there, I really felt like how I asked myself the question, how am I going to be successful? What are the things that are going to help me to distinguish myself from other people who might have gone to better universities or people who didn't go to university and started work and have really worked hard to develop in their skills and their career? So whilst I was studying international relations and politics, I met my now business partner, Carl. We used to compete against each other in class. And that's partly also because school kind of taught us that it's important to compete, right? It's not good to collaborate, hide your answers and don't share your workings out. And that's definitely our context here. But whilst we were at university, our lecturer asked us, what is the biggest asset that you have at university? And we thought, wow, well, the fact that we get to have education, that's our biggest asset. He said, no, that's not it. Then we said, okay, maybe it's the library. You're telling us that we're not spending enough time in the library. And he said, nope, that is not it. He said, the biggest asset that you have is your connections and your network. So Carl and I looked at each other, thought that this competition thing that we were doing, we probably had done it all wrong. And it was at that point we decided to peer mentor each other. We encouraged each other to read books about personal development, like how do you network or how do you change your mindset, particularly if you feel like you have failed, quote unquote, or there's something that you need to overcome in your life, or maybe your home background isn't the one where you've got lots of aspirational opportunities. So we looked at lots of different books that taught us about that. We read lots of different we read lots of books and we watched a lot of videos on YouTube at the time. And then we started testing it. We started going out and encouraging each other to go into different spaces that we're not familiar with, but to develop our network, to learn different things, to sit in different seminars, to be on calls just like what you are on today. And that changed our trajectory. It not only meant that we got great grades at university, but it also meant that we got into our very first jobs that were actually related to our career. So I worked in politics, local and regional government, and Carl also worked in international politics. Now, this was amazing, but at the same time, a lot of our friends hadn't developed these key skills and therefore were still unemployed. So we thought to ourselves, what could we do differently? And that's where we set up 2 to 3 degrees. So essentially, 2 to 3 degrees is helping other young people learn key skills that they need for life. These soft skills that we're talking about. Sometimes we recognize that school doesn't have it and work doesn't have it. So we are creating the opportunity for young people to develop these skills. And so, what are some of the key skills that I feel like I really want to leave you with, especially if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, if you are already or you're thinking about it? The first one is having confidence. It's something you have to develop. You're not born with it, but it's something you can develop and you can learn. And a quote that I want to leave you with is, have courage, just do it. In order for us to set up 2 to 3 degrees, you wouldn't believe it. We came up with the idea over the phone. And when we came up with the proof of concept, we said to each other, let's message everyone in our WhatsApp group chat and see if they know a teacher where we can go into a school. We didn't have the qualifications as a teacher. We didn't have a qualification as a psychologist. We actually was working in politics, but we were so passionate about doing this work. We just had to have the confidence to do it. And we developed that over time. As I mentioned, we use WhatsApp as our very first communication tool. We didn't set up a website. We didn't have a business plan at first. We just had the idea, the passion, and we had the network. So we had to share what we needed to do. But in order to share what you want to do, you have to be the one to communicate it. You can't expect anyone else to do it. So soft skills are so critical in helping you develop your communication style in order for you to be able to demonstrate your business. And so communication is critical. But on this entrepreneur journey, 2 to 3 degrees is actually nearly 9 years old in a couple of days. We've been running for 9 years. And whilst it's beautiful that I have a co-founder, the other thing that is really important that you cannot neglect is your own emotional intelligence, that sense of self-reflection, that sense of understanding where you are positioned, uniquely positioned to do what you do. When we first started, Carl is a great speaker. If you ever have the opportunity to see him speak or watch his TEDx talks, he is incredible. And there was a time that I often compared myself to Carl and felt like I wasn't good enough. Or I would compare 2 to 3 degrees as a new startup business to one that was already out there doing great things. And it kind of left me deflated and it made me feel as though maybe we're not worthy. And actually, that is not true. The best person to be doing something is you, because you are the one doing it. And back to that point of emotional intelligence, I really had to self-reflect and actually say, it's not for me to compare or to criticize myself. In fact, I just need to empower myself to keep pushing on. And soft skills is definitely essential in understanding how to navigate this journey of entrepreneurship. So as I close, I want to leave you with one final thing. For any of you dreaming or thinking about doing a business, or even if you've already started it, just remember, the best person to do it is you, because you are the one that is doing it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Aziz, for this presentation. That was great. I think I can really identify with everything that you said. With my so many years of working with entrepreneurs, whether in Ghana, whether in Malawi, or whether in the Caribbean, most of the times as entrepreneurs, but the focus is usually on the product, get the product to market, and then we forget about some of these soft skills. So it's great to hear as being reminded. Well, on next, we are going to hear from Yaya Janga, who will tell us about the program he's leading. He's working with young people and to assist them in developing the skills. So he's going to give us examples of which soft skills have been particularly relevant. Aziz have shared some. Yaya will also share what soft skills have been particularly relevant to with entrepreneurs he's been working with in Nigeria. So over to you, Yaya. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin, and good day to our colleagues from all over around the globe. My name is Yahaya Janga. I'm the program manager non-formal education here in Nigeria. So I am responsible for managing the program Youth Sustainable Enterprise Challenge here in Nigeria. So I will be taking us on the implementation of our program and what soft skills we're able to enhanced among young people here in Nigeria, and what soft skills are relevant to their day-to-day activities as entrepreneurs, as also as young persons who are looking for employment. So next slide. So, in my presentation, I will be giving a little background and context in Nigeria, and then from there, I move to our program, Youth Sustainable Enterprise Challenge Program, then the relevant skills identified and addressed, and then the impact of the program on young people here in Nigeria. Next slide. So a bit of context about Nigeria. So Nigeria's population, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, and it is projected that by 2050, our population will surpass 40 million, and then more than half of this population will be young people. So currently, Nigeria has a critical mass of young people who are into education, some are out of education, but lack the necessary skills to be employed or to succeed either as entrepreneurs or be employable. So these young people, most of them who are out of education, left education because of some economic challenges, and they pursue employment to support themselves in paying for their school fees and other educational engagements. But one thing that is common among them is they lack the necessary skills, both technical and soft, in pursuing their dreams, either as entrepreneurs or be employable. Another indication is also coming from employers. They find it difficult to get young people who have the requisite skills to be engaged either as employers or as technical staff in their organizations. So that is the idea we conceived, and that is the idea that brought in the program Youth Sustainable Enterprise Challenge here in Nigeria. Next slide. So, what is the Youth Sustainable Enterprise Challenge here in Nigeria sets out to do? The program sets out to enhance entrepreneurial skill among young people while developing necessary soft skills that are valued by employers. So, what is the core problem? The core problem here in Nigeria, we discovered that young people lacked the necessary practical skills, knowledge, and confidence to succeed either as entrepreneurs or be employable. And we targeted young people between the ages of 18 to 35 to see how we can support them to enhance their skills, especially soft skills that will give them the advantages and then to leverage on and either be employed or engage into private enterprises. Next slide. So before the implementation of the program, we set out on insight studies to visit some location in Nigeria. We visited two locations to engage with young people so as to understand the problem they are facing, and then to identify the relevant soft skills they need to enhance their life and then be successful in life. So during our engagement with young people, we discovered that there are a lot of gaps in these young people. Were able to identify soft skills that are necessary for them, and also entrepreneurial skills that will assist them in engaging with potential employers and then also succeed as individual. So among the soft skills we were able to identify during our engagement with them that needs to be enhanced, we had something like verbal communication, written communication, emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, resilience, and others. Then we also identify some entrepreneurship skills that they need in order to succeed. Some are financial literacy, bookkeeping, identifying market opportunities, and then engaging with potential investors. Next slide. So through our Young Sustainable Enterprise Challenge program, we're able to enhance the skill of these young people, giving them the necessary confidence, knowledge, and then the practical skills they need to succeed either as entrepreneurs or be employable. And how did we do that? The program engaged young people on 8-week training in attending workshops, training sessions, mentoring sessions, role model session, and then visiting relevant institutions to learn more about what is needed for them to succeed either as entrepreneurs or be employable. And during this training, young people were engaged in varied exercises that enhance their soft skills like confidence, effective communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. During the training sessions, young people were given exercises that would boost their creativity in terms of solving real life problems in their communities, and also in terms of identifying opportunities for engagement with their peers to come up with viable business enterprises. And then during the training, also, young people were paired with mentors to align with their business ideas. So the pairing was done based on availability of the mentors and based on alignment with their business interests. And also during the training, we engage young people in collaborative project development. So young people were paired in groups to come up with business ideas and then collaboratively develop the idea and then see how the ideas can be implemented. And another key thing during the training, young people were engaged in pop-up business simulation. And this pop-up game is a game that teaches young people to identify steps from starting a business and then to implementing their ideas. And it can only be played in group. One person cannot do the game because it has resources, and then all the group members will have to agree on what role each of them will play, from being the CEO, from being the marketing person, from being the person that will work on the finances, and from being the person that will identify opportunities to market the products. So that game really taught the young people how to identify critical problems in their communities, how to manage their resources, how to work in team, and how to collaborate on ideas that will eventually become something successful for them. So during the training, they were able to develop critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, team building, and collaboration. And also during the training, young people were trained on how to pitch their ideas to potential investors. And that greatly boosted the confidence of young people in effective communication and also engaging with stakeholders. Before the training, most of them were unable to speak in public. But after the training, a lot of them gained that confidence and then the skills to speak in public, to engage with potential investors, to pitch their business ideas to potential investors, and also get investors to invest in their ideas. So a lot of feedback we got from most of these young people is that after the training, a lot of them were able to engage in other pitching event competitions where investors are brought together and then young people pitch their business ideas to seek for funding from different investors. Next slide. Okay, what is the impact of the program on young people? We're able to reach out to 556 young people, with majority of them women and even people with disability. And then after the training event, a pitch competition event was organized whereby the participants pitched their business ideas to investors. And after the pitching event, British Council, through the Youth Connect program, was able to support 64 of them with seed funding for them to scale up their business ideas and then engage with others. And then at the end of the program, we had a pilot review whereby we engaged with the young people to see how the program impacted their life and what they learned most during the program. Next slide. So these are some of the skills the young people were able to identify as the most impactful and then they gained during the implementation of the program. And top among them is communication, whereby we saw the evidence of that during teaching events and then engagement with other stakeholders, self-awareness, teamwork, and then confidence, critical thinking. Before the trainings, most of them do not have the spirit of working collaboratively in team as a team to develop business ideas, to engage with stakeholders, and then bring their ideas to fruition. But after the training, a lot of them showed that yes, they can work in teams and then achieve great success together. Next slide. And then the program also was able to bring a mind shift among the young people. Some of them, before joining the program, were thinking that I can only be the best when I develop my idea alone. But during the program, they were able to learn how to work in team and to bring that to fruition. And another major mind shift is that They were able to understand during the training that entrepreneurship is not about money, but solving real-time problem and then adding value to your communities and to your societies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yaya. I mean, it was great to see that over 90% of participants said that they had improved their soft skills. And what's also what if there's anything you take out from this session, Aziz mentioned communication. There was communication on Yaya's presentation. Confidence it's also featured on Yaya's presentation. Emotional intelligence, stroke self-awareness. So at the end of this Youth Connect Live, I hope that we take at least these three key skills in away. But we want to also hear how has these soft skills sort of transformed businesses, that some of our speakers have worked with. And to do that, I'm going to invite David Bryan, who is the head of sustainable business at the Social Enterprise Academy, to give us examples of how these soft skills, how he has seen these soft skills sort of transform the businesses of young people. So over to you, David.
Many thanks, Irene. What fantastic presentations. It's really exciting to be with everyone today. Yeah, our job at Social Enterprise Academy is to support you guys, to help you start and grow social enterprises in particular. In the past, we've had the pleasure of working with British Council in about 16 different countries, and we continue to do so with various organizations like SAP and IKEA Foundation and others. So let's talk about what this thing social enterprise is, and I'm going to tell some stories, which is always fun. If we think of the three parts of society, if you like, there's the state. There are government organizations, and the state can do things that are good for communities, good for people, good for the planet. Of course, they can. Market organizations, businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises, corporates, and often they can do good things. They can source their materials responsibly, and they can do CSR and that sort of thing. But then there's civil society, not-for-profits, charities, communities. What can they do? Well, not just voluntary things, because civil society organizations can trade, just like businesses, but they can do so, their motivation can be to be making a difference in their communities. And we call these social enterprises. And I've got social enterprises right at the sweet spot in the middle of this diagram. I am a bit biased, but I think it's a fantastic business model. So what do social enterprises do? They trade, but they trade not to distribute profits. They can make profits, but the majority, or even better, all of those profits go back into addressing the social or environmental problem they were set up to solve. People can make a proper living, they can be paid proper wages. Sometimes small amounts of profits can be taken by an owner of a social enterprise, but the main motivation for running a social enterprise is to change the world. And I always say, if you're happy with the world as it is, don't come on our learning programs. If you want to change the world, work with us, because we're here to help you do these things. Now, you can, as a private sector entrepreneur, have a trading social enterprise as well. You can have a social enterprise startup and a private sector startup. No reason why not. But there's another way of doing social enterprise, and that's for communities. Communities to come together and start a social enterprise collectively. And that's a little bit what I'm going to talk about now. And I'm going to share some examples from where I am, which is in the Highlands of Scotland, first of all. This is an island called Uist. Uist is 5 hours on a ferry from the mainland of the UK. It doesn't have a big college building. They've got a community-owned learning centre, which is here in the picture. And the Learning Centre does great things. It's run by the community. It's a social enterprise itself. And what they found is that they were helping all sorts of people, parents, developing IT skills, young people to get their first job, all sorts of different people. But the one group in the community they weren't able to help was older men in their 40s and 50s. And there's a big problem with alcohol addiction, substance misuse in terms of alcohol in these islands. So what they thought is, what do we do? How can we engage older men? What's going to enable them to come along to us so we can help them? And they thought fixing up furniture. Older men tend to like to do things around, fixing up furniture, crafty things, great with tools, lots of practical skills. So they set up a social enterprise which accepted end-of-life furniture, waste that would otherwise have been thrown away, and they supported these older men to give this furniture a new lease of life. And they sell the furniture, so it's viable. And the really interesting thing is that the founder, he said this, and I'll never forget this. He said, community recycling is not just about avoiding wasted resources, avoiding wasting putting furniture in landfill, but it's also about wasted lives. And it's that sense that, as one of our facilitators says, if the problem's in the community, then the solution's in the community. And that's what community-based social enterprise does. It enables communities to step up and say, private sector can't solve a problem, government can't solve a problem, but we can, and we're going to do it. Here's an example. This is a small town called Oban, 5,000 population, far, far away from any other town. There was a really poor swimming pool. It was really basic. Nobody liked going there. It was run by the council, run by the local government. And the community said, you know what, we'll take that over from you, local government. It was making the local government a loss because governments are not very good at running things like swimming pools. So they did. And around that swimming pool, they transformed the swimming pool, made it a whole lot more fun for everybody. And they built a whole leisure centre around it. And here it is. You can see there are tennis courts and there's a fantastic gym, and there are all sorts of other facilities that you might expect, spinning classes and squash and all sorts of things. And they say this is built by the community for the community. So there's a great skill of communication, isn't it? And that's been mentioned by the previous speakers. To be able to say to the community, this is yours. Not everyone in the community might pay attention to what's happening, in terms of the governance of a swimming pool. So they really put it on the wall and they say, this is for you. And here's one thing they do. There are lots of children come from the islands and they have to stay overnight during the week in Oban. They're very lonely. They're very isolated. So at the start of the school year, they say to all the children, come and have a sleepover at the leisure centre. And they do. And they have 200 young people who sleep over, and the swimming pool's open all night and the gym's open all night. And there's Wii projected on the wall and they can have great fun. And of course, they feel this is their place. They're part of this community. And then every Friday night, if they're feeling a bit lonely, even if they're on their own, they'll go along and the staff will play. They'll play badminton with them, or the staff will be their gym buddy or whatever. Now, here's the thing. That's great for the young people. It's also great for the slightly older, younger people who work there. Two of my daughters have worked there as lifeguards and swimming teachers, and they are gaining emotional intelligence. So that not just are the young people who go there benefiting, but actually the staff who run it are gaining lots of skills in coaching skills, mentoring skills, all the skills that you need in life, but particularly if you're running any sort of business. Now, sometimes social enterprises do surprising things. This is a community which didn't have a very good primary school. The primary school was too small, it was falling to pieces, but the government couldn't afford to build a new one. So the community said, tell you what, government, we'll build a school for you and we'll lease it to the government. And that's exactly what they did. They built the school, they lease it to the government, it's profitable, the community can use the profits to do other things they want to do, like renewable energy. How did they find the money? Well, they fundraised themselves, but that doesn't raise a whole lot of money. What they did is they introduced a community share issue. And they acted almost like a little bank, really. And they said to people in the community or diaspora, people who'd left the community, and they said, do you want to invest in this? We'll give you I think a 3% rate of return. And that then meant they brought the money in. And of course, they knew they were making a profit on leasing it to the council. So everyone won. And here's the thing, if the council ever don't want the school there for whatever reason, they've designed it in such a way that it can be converted into 3 houses and then leased out. And there's always a need for houses in rural places, isn't there? So that's innovation. It's agility. Things like financing are not just for the private sector, for SMEs, they're for social enterprises as well. I also want to talk about vision. Vision's a really important soft skill. In this part of many parts of the Highlands, there was a kind of a land grab that went on about 200 years ago. Sorry, am I running out of time, Irene? I'll have to finish up. I could talk all day about this, as you can probably tell. Here's my last example. There was kind of a land grab that happened. Communities don't own the land. If you don't own the land, you can't do anything with it. You can't, put up new buildings or start businesses. So what the community said is, I tell you what we'll do, we'll buy the land. And many communities have. It takes a long time, a lot of persistence, a lot of effort. But the last thing I'll say is the way they communicate, the way that they make sure the whole community is on board is to say, these are forever projects. This is something that we're doing now for every generation to come. And that's how they can communicate to the whole community. This is what we need to do. So lots of soft skills there, lots of soft skills that are relevant in business, but also relevant in social enterprise. Thank you. Sorry for overrunning.
No, David, it's understandable. I'm sure if I was also talking about these transformative enterprises, I will run over, and I'm sure there are more. So thank you so much. It's great to see how these soft skills are transforming businesses, are transforming communities. So thank you so much for your presentation. Now, in the work that I do, when we work with enterprises, what we've noticed is that young businesses led by young men are 1.3 times higher to survive as compared to businesses led by female. And so whilst we talk about soft skills that are needed, it's also important for us to realize that there may be additional soft skills that is important, what we call the feminist leadership. So we are going to talk about it. I'm going to hand over to Stalo Lester, who is going to speak to 4 women who are also going to tell us more about the skills that they have used in their businesses. That will be also important for female-led enterprises, or for you who know any female-led enterprises. So over to you, Stalo Lester, and the 4 young people who will be sharing their experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene. And thank you also to the fantastic speakers we had before. I felt such positive energy, and it was so motivating and inspiring to hear you. As Irene mentioned, we're going to be hearing from 4 fantastic women who will be joining me in this panel, who have been part of the Closed Leadership Program for Gender Equality, and who also helped co-create this session with me. So our discussion today is about feminist leadership and how it connects with soft skills for entrepreneurs. And what we want to present is feminine leadership as an alternative model to the traditional models of power and authority and leadership that we're already accustomed to, an alternative model that is very transformative because it builds on trust and growth, and collaboration, prioritizes collaboration over competition. That's about empowerment and inclusivity. It's about building community. And I'm confident that our panelists will help you make this connection and more clear in your mind, and how feminist leadership can benefit entrepreneurs, especially using the soft skills that we're mentioning, the critical thinking and the problem solving and the positive communicate and effective communication. So let me introduce our panelists today. I'm very happy to have here with us today. Michelle Muonde from Zimbabwe, who is now based in Algeria. Welcome, Michelle. Michelle is a final year Doctor of Pharmacy and a Healthcare Leadership Academy Scholar. She's passionate about digital health, the SDGs, and transformative leadership in healthcare. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Glenis Regina is also with us. Welcome, Glenis. Glenis is based in Cameroon, and she holds an MPA from Donkuku University, and she currently works in international development. Glenis is also a small scale entrepreneur, and she's very passionate about the stages of growth and leadership, specifically supporting women in the workplace and how to help them break the invisible barriers and rise into positions of leadership. Welcome, Glenis. We also have Rutaba Tariq with us. Hello, Rutaba. Welcome. Rutaba is based in Pakistan. She's the country coordinator for the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. It's a volunteer-driven organization that trains young people in diplomacy and politics. She also serves as the regional program coordinator at Faith for a Planet, which is an organization that mobilizes faith leaders for climate leadership. Hello, welcome. And Kola Abdallah, who is based in Libya, is also joining us. Welcome, Kola. Kola is a medical doctor. She has a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery from Benghazi University in Libya. She works as a project coordinator at the Longa NGO that focuses on awareness campaigns and media initiatives and peace building. Kola is a civil activist, and she's passionate about encouraging dialogue, fostering debate, and driving positive societal change. Welcome. Before we delve into the discussion today, we want to hear from you, our participants, about what comes to your mind when you think about feminist leadership. So I'm inviting you to take a moment to complete this Mentimeter. I will be sharing in the chat a link. Let me. Okay. To a Mentimeter, and you can also see it on my screen, and it will invite you to answer 2 questions. Can you see it okay? Because I cannot see your responses. Try it again. Okay, let's see how it's gonna populate. Thank you, and we can go on to the next slide, to the next question. Great. Thank you so much for your answers. Let me back to the word cloud of feminist leadership. And I mean, the words that you're mentioning, that it's powerful and strong, and it's about equality, and it's collaborative and about persistence, the tenacity and the independence. Also, the fact that it's about women, we'll discuss that in a little bit. Some of you are mentioning the challenges that are sometimes encountered when we want to apply feminist leadership in practice. And also with the skills, you have very well identified that all the skills that you had to, let me get this, that we had asked for our Mentimeter, they all relate to feminist leadership. Let me quickly share this slide with you. So when we talk about feminist leadership, all these principles come into play. It's about self-awareness and self-care and caring for others. Self-awareness also links to a lot of self-reflection that Aziz also mentioned before. It's about having courage, which all these three qualities blend in with emotional intelligence. Feminist leadership is also about providing respectful feedback, meaning that you react to others with positive communication and from a place of empathy. It's about sharing power, a very fundamental aspect of feminist leadership, how it redefines the power dynamics to more collaborative power, the transparent use of power, the accountable collaboration, inclusion, which all these have to do with effective communication and teamwork. It's also about using our critical thinking to dismantle bias and, of course, zero tolerance to any type of discrimination and violence. But I think it's more interesting that you hear from our wonderful panelists. So if I can start our discussion. Okay, today, as we mentioned, we're focusing on soft skills for entrepreneurs. And of course, it's this question: how does feminist leadership connect with the soft skills for entrepreneurs, and more specifically, emotional intelligence, effective communication and teamwork, critical thinking, and problem solving? Shall we start with Michelle?
Oh, thank you, Stalo. So, feminist leadership, it cultivates a number of essential soft skills for entrepreneurs. For example, critical thinking and effective communication, which encourage diverse viewpoints, encouraging autonomy, and also solution-driven approaches. And this then strengthens entrepreneurs' abilities to critically assess risks and to also innovate. And in my leadership roles, I can say that empathy and active listening are of great importance. For instance, when brainstorming new ideas, I tend to prioritize creating a safe space for everyone to share their thoughts. I actively listen, not just to the words, but to the underlying emotions and unspoken needs of each team member. And I realize that it actually encourages further contributions from the team members.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Let's also go to Rutaba.
Hi, thank you. So the question about how feminist leadership relates to development of use of soft skill is, I think fundamentally it helps you think critically about traditional leadership models, right? Which are very patriarchal, and which encourage a competition with and dominance over people, which is something our earlier speakers also mentioned. So once you start getting into the habit of thinking critically about traditional and orthodox leadership models, you start questioning the values that inspire those actions. And so you start thinking you need more empathy, inclusivity, collaboration, shared power, communication, right? And those are the ingredients that encourage you to think about soft skills. And those are the ingredients that anchor the use and development of soft skills, you know? So for me, it's about rationalizing soft skills, right, into workplaces. And that's what feminine leadership does, for me at least. One of the, traits that feminist leadership trait that's helped me is empathy a little bit. Because, and I saw that a lot of people in the Mentimeter mentioned empathy is one trait that comes to their mind when they think about feminist feminist leadership. And I can see why, because we lack empathy in our workplaces severely. So for example, once a team member came to me, they were expected to do a task that should have come to them quite naturally, was expected of their role, but they were struggling to complete that task. It could have been for several reasons. People go through personal turmoil, pressures at work, alike. For me as a team leader, it was very important to inquire about those challenges, right? And ask and then support. So spending a little bit more time, 20 minutes of your time to kind of sit with a struggling team member to finish the task is an exercise in empathy. And it yields incredible, yeah.
Thank you very much, Rutaba, for how you brought empathy into the picture and how fundamental it is. Shall we go to Glenys?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Stalo. So I'll speak to the fact that having a healthy leadership mindset allows entrepreneurs to be able to solve problems, collaborate better, and even make good decisions. So it's important to prioritize our mental, physical, and psychosocial well-being as entrepreneurs, including the well-being of others as well. And when we do this, we are able to continue giving our very best effort to our cause. In the same light, as leaders and entrepreneurs, we need to be able to self-reflect and be aware of our own biases and privileges and how this can impact others. What I'm saying in essence is that the interconnection between self-awareness, well-being, and resilience has helped me to make smart decisions and also to create solution-oriented approaches that have also helped me to solve real life problems, like, for example, viewing setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures, and also maintaining or trying in the best way I can to maintain a positive outlook despite experiencing serious challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenys and Kola.
Hello. For me, feminist leadership is deeply connected with the development and the use of soft skills because feminist leadership focuses on creating inclusive, equitable, and collaborative environment. And this is directly enhance the use of soft skills. And this is also connected with the entrepreneurship because it is a powerful approach for entrepreneurs to use those soft skills in their businesses because they are essential for effective teamwork and making and creating a long-term sustainable business in today's business dynamic. And for the soft skills, the most important one that I didn't really knew the importance of it is active listening, and I'm started to working more about it in my leadership in my organization. And I didn't really know this importance until I took the session with the Youth Connect program when the British Council with Emily Casria. I don't know the name exactly, but this has really changed the concept of active listening for me.
Thank you very much for making this very tangible connection of feminist leadership and the skills for entrepreneurs. So my next question is that there's many myths usually around feminist leadership and misconceptions, about it. And I was wondering how in your own work do you challenge some of these myths? How do you debunk these myths in your own practice? Rutaba, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So there's this myth that only women can practice feminist leadership, or that only the feminist leadership model is only for women. That's a myth that I saw in the poll that we conducted. A lot of people said it's for girls and women, but that's not true. Feminist leadership is actually for all, because like all of my other speakers mentioned, it posits the values of equity and collaboration and shared power, which is beneficial for all because it is detrimental to all, right? And the other nuance to it is that the fact that women can also be they can also uphold patriarchal practices. So just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that feminist leadership automatically comes to me. I also have to work and exercise courage to reflect those principles in my work as well. So that's a check-in that I keep putting in myself, but it's very difficult. It requires a lot of courage, and I have to say I'm far from perfect. I feel like I'm only just beginning.
Thank you very much, Rutaba. And actually, as you're talking, it reminded me and things that we said before about how important it is also to gain strength and draw strength from vulnerability, as well to recognize vulnerabilities and use them positively to draw strength. Thank you. Glenys.
Yes, of course. So the myth that leading with empathy means leading from a place of weakness is very wrong. I have several times been in a situation where I've been told that I am weak just because of empathetic leadership. So on the contrary, I know that people who lead with their hearts lead with intelligence and savviness to achieve their goals. Empathy actually helps me to understand and be more aware of others' needs, feelings, and their thoughts. And personally, I think that this makes working with diverse people a lot easier. Another myth is that women's skills are less valuable. It's actually very important that we as entrepreneurs of the future start learning to recognize and celebrate the contributions of both men and women, and not just limit ourselves to the myth that women's skills are less valuable. Other examples I can share are myths around receiving and giving feedback and also making decisions. For example, I do not have to be a man in order to develop my networks or make the right decisions in my work. And just like I don't have to be a woman in order to know how to give and value constructive feedback. So we can see that these soft skills are not gender specific. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenys. Michelle, over to you.
Sure. So a common myth is that feminist leadership is less effective in business or in entrepreneurship. But actually, companies with diverse leadership tend to outperform those with homogeneous teams. And there's a study by McKinsey that found that gender diverse leadership teams, they are 21% more likely to experience above average profitability. And also case studies from prominent companies like IKEA and Patagonia, they show that adopting feminist leadership approaches tends to encourage innovation and also improve brand loyalty and ultimately increase the retention of employees. So this demonstrates that, number one, feminist leadership is not less effective in business or in entrepreneurship. And number two, it does work for everyone. How does it do this? By embracing collaborative decision making, which means that moving away from the authoritarian leadership models and by valuing diverse perspectives, this approach creates a more inclusive and productive environment for all genders.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Carla?
One of the myths I always face in my community and in my society that whenever one heard the word feminist or feminism is directly translated into anti-men and replacing men in workplaces and something like that. It's also, I always face, and especially I'm speaking in my country, that whenever someone speaks about feminism, they say that it's a Western concept, that it cannot work in our society. I always try to explain that feminist leadership is a model that can work for everyone, regardless their gender, and it's a model can work everywhere, in every diverse culture context. It's not about the community, it's about the model and how it's work. The principle of feminist leadership is to ensure that both men and women have equal opportunities. And the most important thing is breaking down the traditional gender roles that they've been fostering by myths. And this all stems from my belief that from ignorance and don't really understanding the meaning of feminism and the meaning and truly meaning of how can feminists work for everyone, regardless of the culture and regardless of the gender.
Thank you very much, and thank you for keep reiterating that it's a model, for everyone. It's about inclusion and giving equal opportunity to everyone. So, in my next question, I want to talk a bit about power, and we mentioned that before. I think Rutaba also mentioned it. It's about challenging the traditional models of power and leadership and authority, the more patriarchal models of authority and leadership. So how does feminist leadership come as an alternative to these traditional models? And how does it challenge these conventional ideas of power, authority, and success in the workplace? Shall we go with Glenys?
So in my opinion, feminist leadership challenges conventional ideas because it is empowering, in the sense that it empowers people and communities to confidently take ownership of their lives and to participate in decisions that affect them every day. Another point is that feminist leadership also brings on a new perspective or a fresh perspective. It has a very transformative vision which recognizes that power is often used oppressively, and so it seeks to dismantle structures that continue to create and maintain inequalities in the workplace by prioritizing and creating work environments where everyone can feel safe and is respected and also included, regardless of different social identities. A very good example, which is also common, is how feminist leadership encourages people in organizations, for example, my workplace, to collaboratively build power, like among others, rather than solely focusing on individual advancement and unhealthy competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenis. Kola.
Feminist leadership challenges us to rethink about power, authority, and success in a way that are more inclusive and sustainable. It shifts the focus from the hierarchical top-down approach to more inclusive and collaborative approach. Whether the traditional leadership model often undervalue the soft skills such as active listening and emotional intelligence and empathy, and focusing instead on the hard skills and results, whether feminist leadership place a high value in these qualities, and they are very critical for building a positive work culture, because feminist leaders prioritize those skills over the hard skills and the traditional leadership skills approach.
Thank you, Kola. Michelle, over to you.
Okay, so feminist leadership emphasizes that authority is built on influence and not fear. So you find that traditional models of leadership, they tend to rely on a command and control structures whereby leaders assert authority through rigid rules and penalties. But feminist leadership, however, it shifts the focus to a relational authority whereby leaders gain influence through mentorship, collaboration, and trust. And ultimately, a fresh perspective that is brought by feminist leadership is that authentic power stems from a foundation of self-care and caring for others. And this directly addresses the pitfalls of a fear-based authority and also issues concerning burnout. And this deliberate emphasis on care, on self-care, it tends to cultivate deep trust as team members perceive leadership as valuing them, recognizing their needs beyond mere performance or merely achieving goals. And when leaders actively nurture not only their own well-being, but also that of their team, it lessens the necessity for a fear-driven control.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And Ruth, how about over to you?
Yes, so I will echo everything Michelle said about traditional leadership being captured in titles, right, or positions. But feminist leadership basically says that authority and power can be hidden. It could be invisible, right? So you could have many different means of influencing decision makers. Who gets to be on the table, who gets to decide what's on the agenda, are all questions to ask because they help us identify who is in power, not just titles. And that's where the redefinition of success also comes in, because traditional corporate methods kind of focus more on profitability and productivity, right? They kind of reduce labor just to numbers and how much money is being produced. But feminist leadership, rejects this objectification of workers, wants us to focus a lot more on well-being of individuals as well, and to look at the ethical impact of the way we're leading in our workplaces as well. So for me, those are some really key ways that feminist leadership challenges our conventional ideas of power, authority, and even success.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In our last question, I want to go to something that's very fundamental when we're talking about social leadership, and that's the golden circle that we used in our training. Let me share quickly my screen so I make it clear also for our participants. So let me... So the concept of Simon Sinek's The Golden Circle is that most organizations, when they want to give out a message about themselves, they concentrate a lot on the what, because this is very clear and everybody knows what they do. They also concentrate on how they do it, meaning that they promote their unique selling point, their alternative proposition. But very few organizations will come and think why they do things. And when we talk about why, we don't mean about, we want to make profit or we want to be the leading company in this. When we talk about why, we talk about those fundamental values, the purpose, the cause, what gets us up in the morning, what powers us, what inspires us. It's about the impact we want to make in the world, the change we want to make. And when we start communicating from the why outwards, when we start with the why into our communication, then we're more inspiring. We have that emotional hook that can make people trust us and get inspired by us and join our movements. The why already starts blending all the aspects that we already talked about, and the emotional intelligence and the critical thinking and the effective communication. So taking it now to our panelists, thinking about the process of finding your why, your inner cause, your purpose. If you can share with us how was this process and how it influenced your leadership journey, and also if you can link why you think finding our why is important and relevant to entrepreneurship. Let's start with Kola.
About the why, I never really thought about it until I had the gender equality leader feminiship course with you, Stella. Thanks to you. I think my why stems from being raised in a community that somehow underestimates women and women's ability to success and make a change. And also, I always wanted to break down the gender rules and the stereotyping that were set for women and the challenges in work and in the society. I always wanted a community where women and men are equal. They can both work according to their capabilities and according to their skills, not because of their gender. In my community, I'm so sensitive to talk about this, but it is really feminism. We started to reach a point that is almost a crime to just only speaking about it. So because of that, my deep belief that gender equality is important, and I really want to see more women and more men are equal in the workplaces, and to prove that the gender roles that were set by the society do not exist in the first place.
Thank you, Carla. Glenys, over to you.
Thank you, Stella. So understanding my why was a challenging process of reflecting through what I have been doing so far, where I am now in my journey, and also where I intend to go. And it was actually my first time hearing about this exercise. However, it helped me to be able to figure out what a successful life means to me. And this keeps me motivated every day to want to continue using my skills to inspire and empower others, despite knowing the obvious challenges in my community, which are related to cultural inequalities or differences, where it's very difficult for a woman to maybe voice her opinion so boldly, and we're still really facing these challenges in many communities. So knowing my why now makes me feel confident. Let me say in the workplace, not really in my community, in my workplace, it makes me feel confident communicating to others what is it exactly that I am doing, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And also it's helping me to grow consistently and challenge myself to become a better version every day, so that I can
Glenys.
inspire others.
Thank you very much. Rutaba, over to you.
Yes. So I'll try and keep it short, but the revisiting the why is very difficult. I think CISEC's model is very natural. I did think about the why when I first launched my youth organization. It was there was a gap on campus where we did not have soft skills workshops for social sciences students, right? But as the organization grew, by the way, on a national level, I did not revisit my why, which meant that I was not keeping up with the newer audience that I was engaging with. So doing this exercise helped me understand why I was so stagnant, why I was not able to put in more competent volunteers. And going through this exercise has now given me more optimism optimism and given me more hope with my communication. My co-founder and I are now much more hopeful about the reinvention of our organization and taking it forward. That's why the why is really important, to engage and energize the people that you're working with.
Thank you, Rutapa. And Michelle, over to you.
Thank you. So to me, the Golden Circles Why was a great opportunity for self-reflection. It wasn't just like an abstract exercise, but rather it was a chance to truly understand myself, both as an individual and as a leader. And thinking about how this affected my leadership, the clarity I gained was a real game changer. Like, it boosted my perseverance like never before. When things got tough, I could connect with my why, and which made me more authentic and resilient as a leader. And in the context of entrepreneurship, I feel that understanding your why is particularly important. Like, it is your unique story that differentiates you in a crowded market as an entrepreneur, and your anchor that keeps you grounded and motivated when things get tough. And ultimately, finding your why as an entrepreneur becomes a catalyst for innovation and the foundation of your brand.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you very much, the four of you. It was great to hear you speak. It was very empowering and inspiring as well. Just to let you know that we've shared the link to Simon Sinek's video on the why in the chat. Irene, over to you.
Thank you so much, Stalo, Michelle, Rutava, Kola, Glennis. It was like a masterclass on feminist leadership, and I believe we all enjoyed it. Thank you to our first panel, and thank you to our second panel. After such wonderful panels, we will have questions. So we are taking questions. If you have questions, put it in the Q&A button or in the chat, and then we will ask our panel. You can be specific to the panel that you want to ask those questions. So we want to hear from you. If you have questions, do let us know. I do have questions, so if you do not ask, I will ask my questions. So let us know if you have questions. Whilst we wait for question, I will ask any of our panelists who was on the first panel whether there are any specific methods or approaches that you recommend for effectively teaching soft skills to individuals, as opposed to relying solely on passive learning experiences. So if yes, Aziz, I will leave that to you if you could help us with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think journaling is really good. A lot of entrepreneurs and people who are really invested in soft skill development generally journal. So it might be journaling in the morning first thing, or journaling at the end of the day. And it's a great opportunity to self-reflect. It's a great opportunity to emotionally regulate as well, and kind of understand where your thoughts are. Journaling is also useful if you don't really want to sit down and write your thoughts. Writing down your goals or some of your intentions or things that you're grateful for in the day can be really useful. Typically, if you're starting out, it can be quite challenging, can sometimes feel a bit lonely, can feel isolating, not just being an entrepreneur, but just life in general. And so soft skills, like we mentioned at the beginning, isn't only useful for people who are pursuing business, but they are actually super useful. That helps all aspects of your life. So yeah, I would talk about writing, journaling, and setting some intentions or goal setting, whichever you prefer.
Thank you, Aziz. I couldn't agree more. Writing, so when you go throughout the day or the week, what happened? Why did it happen? Could I have done it differently? What should I have done differently? Will help you answer those questions. What needs to be learned to pick up those soft skills? So thank you so much, Aziz. David, do you have anything to add to this question?
Yes, just to add to Adiz's excellent answer. What happens in a journal? Well, as entrepreneurs, we have experiences. We're activists. We like having experiences. But how do we take learning from that? Well, we need to stop and reflect. We need to ask ourselves, what just happened there? And then you need to think, why did it happen? And then you need to ask yourself, what would I do differently next time? We call this Kolb's learning cycle. Have an experience, reflect, think, and plan. So if in your journal you can go through Kolb's cycle, then that's how we take learning. And that's how we can all take learning from all experiences. Otherwise, we just have experiences and we don't actually learn.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. I mean, there are no questions. I'll keep asking mine. I will direct this to the second panel. Anyone on the second panel can pick this up. Do you have any further techniques? I mean, throughout the whole conversation, what has come up as emotional intelligence. So do you have any techniques on how one can develop their emotional intelligence to improve their leadership style? So this is for our second panel. Yes, Michelle, I see you come on camera.
All right, thank you so much. I feel like that's a great question. I can talk about my personal experience when it comes to emotional intelligence. I think that one of the best ways to practice soft skills, emotional intelligence included, is putting yourself in a position that tests your emotional intelligence. I feel like being practical when it comes to soft skills is one of the best ways to acquire them. We can learn as much from the theoretical things, from lectures, from courses, but I feel like when you put yourself in maybe a leadership position or volunteering in a space that tests your emotional intelligence, I think that could be the best way to develop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone from the second panel who wants to add? Glenys? If I mention your name, it's because I see your camera on. So if there's anyone who wants to add to the discussion, yes, Glenys.
Yes, I would just add that you just need to start with self-assessment. You try to identify what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. There will obviously be people around you that you can seek feedback from that will help you to know exactly what direction you're taking. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenys. I'll direct this question to you, Stalo. We've talked about soft skills, we've talked about feminist leadership. In your opinion, I mean, the British Council has included feminist leadership. If you could also share more details on why it's useful for us, include feminist leadership. I know there was a masterclass that we just had, but if you could reiterate that, that would be also great. So I will leave this to Stalo, if you do not mind.
Thank you, Irene. I'll go back to what our panelists said. And feminist leadership is not about women. It's a model. It's a model that you use to draw a lot more on the diversity in your group, to draw more on equality, to change those traditional structures of leadership to more collaborative. It places a lot of emphasis into the way that we work together. It builds that community. It builds collaboration in a way that it shares power. That means every single person is accountable, for what they need to do, and they work together towards a common goal, a common vision, and they support each other. So when you stop that top-down hierarchy, then you open up a space, for all voices to be heard, for all the different perspectives, and that in itself, it's very enriching. And also it helps a lot with growth and just finding really those unique and niche places that you need to tap into to even in entrepreneurship make a better product, make a better service. And it's about impact. It may constantly has you thinking, what is the impact I want to make? What is the change I want to bring? It makes you more conscious. It's more relational at the same time. It focuses a lot into the relationships that we have in our team and with each other. I mean, just the first thoughts that came into my mind. I don't know if the rest of the panel would like to add to this.
Oh, thank you so much, Salo. I mean, if you want more information, the British Council last year compiled stories from about 16 female leaders. They shared some of their feminist leadership skills. It's online, phenomenal leader. So I'm sure my colleagues will put that. You will see lots of examples that backs what Stalo just said about why it's important for us. Feminist, I know when we hear feminist leadership, you might think, okay, this is just for female. No, feminist leadership is for all of us. So based on, so in addition to what Stalu said, there is the Phenomenal Leading book by the British Council, where you can also read about the stories of the phenomenal women at British Council and how they have employed feminist leadership. So thank you so much. I see there is no question. I will ask my last question and then maybe we will end this. Back to the first panel. Do you have any further examples of how soft skills can motivate others? If you have, just back to the first panel, if you have any further examples of how soft skills can motivate others, it would be great to share in like 30 seconds. David.
Yes, there's a fantastic form of leadership called servant leadership. And servant leadership is all about the idea that a chief executive or a founder, their role is not to do everything. Their role is to help other people to do things really, really well. And one way they can do that is by giving their staff or their volunteers, if they're in a community, giving them more of the things that they take energy from, the things that they enjoy doing. And if a chief exec, a founder, or a community leader does that, they'll be getting the most out of their teams. And so, yeah, servant leadership is what chief execs need to do. It's the exact opposite of that kind of macho model of leadership that we had kind of 20, 30, 40 years ago that I think we've got rid of.
Thank you so much,
I think
David. Yes.
Yeah, just really briefly, I think the only other thing that I really want to stress, and kind of from this event, we've heard about different people's skills and experiences. And even when I was talking about my experience of university. And I just want to encourage everyone who has signed up to today and those who are going to watch it after, you don't need to go to university or do further education in order to be a successful leader, nor that of a great entrepreneur. It's really important that we say that you are enough, and knowing that and going through that journey of truly believing that. And it is a journey. Sometimes you'll feel like that, and then there will be something that happens and you won't feel like that. And this is the point around emotional intelligence. That's just life. Going through life and recognizing that you are enough and you are capable is the greatest gift that I think any one person can go on. But it's important to invest in that, and it looks different for everyone else, for every person. But if you do that, and if you commit to doing that, you'll be a phenomenal leader, whether you're a leader at the front, whether you're a leader at the side, or whether you're a leader behind. It doesn't matter where your position is. You can be a leader from whichever place that you stand. So just take up space and just know that you're important and you have a voice, and your perspective is very useful. So try and bring that to wherever you are, whether you've started a business yet or you haven't. There's a lot to learn in life.
Thank you, Aziz. I think you just summarized what the non-formal education work of the British Council is. We believe in also supporting young people outside the formal structures of education. We believe that we can pick up the skills and all that, and that's why we do a non-formal education, and that's why we do our Youth Connect program and have these Youth Connect live events. So thank you everyone for joining. Once again, if there's anything to pick up from this, as effective communication, it runs through all the presentation, emotional intelligence, teamwork, self-awareness, problem solving. These are lots of skills. I will go back to this particular webinar to go and listen to it more, because it was more like a masterclass, and you need to keep on listening and get whatever that you missed. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to our speakers, Aziz, David, Yahaya, Stalo, Michelle, Kola, Rutaba, Glennis. Thank you so much. And thank you to my colleagues who are behind the scene, Emily, Jane, Julia, Florence, putting all this together. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined. We hope you enjoyed it. The recording will be available on the British Council website. We'll send you an email on that. Thank you once again, and we look forward to you joining our next Youth Connect Live event. Thank you. So from all of us, bye-bye.